Welcome to E39 Source. It's February in Ohio and it's actually warm today, which is why I'm out here with the camera. Welcome back, the 2005 update. It's been a little while. Super humid, wet, rainy, moist outside today. Not going to be driving the car. I would like to start it up. I haven't driven it now since, I want to say, early December, so we're looking at about 2 months. Today's February the 7th, 2017. And gotten a lot of requests just to do a little update with everything that's gone on. So if you guys have seen the channel before, you're probably familiar with the fact that this car was kind of almost entirely rebuilt just preventatively last spring. Kind of started my project in October. I went to Maryland, bought an engine from Clemster, a 2002 S62, had that pretty much entirely rebuilt, and then put in I guess that was March or April. I think I got the car back early May 2016. So I've driven it maybe 2,000 or 3,000 miles. We're about to check since then. Engine's been fantastic. There was one leak of a oil solenoid O-ring that they changed, that they replaced again free of charge. I don't know why it was leaking after it was rebuilt, but that was the only issue that I ran into. So I think I'm pretty fortunate that that was the extent of my problems after such a huge task. Also did the driveline, suspension, I mean just a ton of stuff. Go back and watch, I think I did a 3-part video series on that. But the car's been sitting here in storage. This year storage is a little different. I had planned on moving to San Diego in January. I should be there by now. I have graduated college. I'm waiting on some family matters here in Ohio, so I'll be here through this winter. So it didn't really get full storage this year. Last year I put down a plastic sheet, keep the tires away from the cold cement and the moisture that would get sucked out of them. This year it didn't happen. Last year I covered it. This year didn't happen. It's just sitting here naked. I did end up putting the battery charger on it before I took a month sabbatical after graduating in Mexico and Southern California. So it's been on the same charger I used last year. I don't know that I did a specific video on this, but it's the CTEK, I think it's called the Multi 3300, Multi-US 3300, and it's a great charger. I would absolutely recommend this. I see a lot of them that look almost identical that have branding on them. They'll have BMW logos or Ferrari or Rolls-Royce, any of those premium brands. I think it's pretty much the same charger. This one's probably cheaper. It plugs into the wall, as sketchy as that looks, and then you can either use gator clamps or eyelets to affix it to the battery. And I ended up using the eyelets. So I just pulled this back, took the cables, the leads off the battery, and then put the eyelets in between them and tightened everything back up. And the cable's nice and thin so it doesn't damage anything there. I did get a full cleanup done before I kind of parked the car in here. I drove it, I was in California in late November for Thanksgiving. I came back, I drove it like a couple days, then parked it in here, and it sat dirty a month, and then I was able to come out after exams were finished and clean it up. So really just a basic Xano Z6. I don't even think I had time to do a Z8 coat, but it is nice and clean, a little dusty right now after sitting for a few months. If I do a start today, I'm going to have to open the garage door, which will probably mean everything in here will condense and then drip. It's the problem with living here is everything is wet for about 6 months a year. It's incredibly obnoxious. But I'm going to detail some of the changes that have happened since I think I filmed this car, and then we'll go on to a little startup and see how things sound after sitting idle for, or not even idle, sitting for a couple months. So I added a secondary oil pouch back here. This is a great little thing. It's like $6 on Amazon. I can throw the part number in the description below. And I have 2 of them now. The one has the oil I use in this car, which is Castrol TWS Edge 10W60. I think it says Edge or Professional or something like that on there. I keep a liter of that in here. This car doesn't really burn oil anymore with this engine. I have not had to top it off, and I've driven it, as I said, 2,000 or 3,000 miles. We'll find out shortly, and it has not needed any oil. But I do like to have some back there just in case. And then the other one is empty right now because it's in storage mode, but that is where I keep a little spray bottle of Xano Z6 spray wax and a small towel. So if I'm out somewhere and a bird shits all over my hood, I can clean that off before it etches. Or if my window gets dirty or whatever, I have a way to clean that up. So there's 2 of those. They just Velcro right over there, and the one on the left is empty. That's why it looks a little different. I added the cargo net. I don't remember if I had filmed that before. Bought this thing on, I guess, ECS Tuning. I don't even remember what it costs, but it is the genuine BMW cargo net. I saw lots of people had them. I was never really into it, but ended up getting it. I had to spend a little more with ECS to get the free shipping, so it didn't cost as much as it would have since I didn't pay the shipping. But I actually really like having it. If I'm carrying a bottle of vodka back here, I can slide it under there, and then it doesn't slide all around the trunk and smash into my nice trim and stuff like that. So I would recommend the Cargo Net if still available, and I'm sure it is. Last year, I probably talked about this, but my other Mark IV died. I had a early 2000, and man, probably 2 or 3, really early build Mark IV nav computer, and it kept freezing. I tried resetting it, leaving it disconnected overnight, reinstalled version 32 of the software, and it just kept freezing inside. It was very obnoxious. So I sold that one and bought another one. This is actually a 2012 unit. This one's very new. Found it on eBay. Somebody bought it new for, I think, a E83X3 series. Never installed it, and then sold it as like new condition open box item on eBay. So that one should last a long time, knock on wood. And that's kind of all that's new back here in the trunk. I have seen some people on the E39M5 owners group on Facebook do the Alcantara panel swap in here, and that looks cool as hell, but the practicality of having Alcantara or suede in your trunk is just garbage. I mean, you couldn't carry anything in it, it would ruin it. But it looks awesome. You change this panel up here on the trunk lid, the little doors all the way back. I guess you probably can't do the back of the seats because those are on the seats. But looks great. Not something I'm going to do unless I could get that for next to nothing, and I know it's very expensive to do, even if you custom have these things wrapped yourself, but that would be cool to do. Probably won't do it. I did get new trunk struts. I don't know if I talked about that, but it's really nice. So you just give the trunk a little push, and it just flies right up right now. It feels really light. Feels somebody that hasn't done them and their trunk lid's really heavy, and it still closes really well. I like to just hold it there, give it a little push, and it latches shut. So that was a nice upgrade. I did the hood struts as well. Inside, I really haven't done anything since late fall. I came out here with Swissvax, and I was actually listening to an audiobook for an exam, and I took a couple hours and did the whole interior, and it needs it again. I can't believe how dry the front seats feel, and back ones too, I suppose. But it still smells really good in here, and it's pretty clean. I did get the vacuum, or I did have time to vacuum the floor mats. But I mean, I don't do anything back there. It's very rare that passengers ride in the rear of this car. The front is where the majority of the work that I've done in the last 6 months has happened. I don't know if you can tell yet, but this car now has a European dashboard. So in the United States, the dash parts here, I'll take a seat in here, were designed differently. Apparently we're dumb here and we do not wear seat belts. I have never not worn a seat belt and driven, but apparently lots of people don't wear seat belts, so they had to redesign the lower dashboard here. See below the trim, in a standard US DE93 car, the dash would come down to here, leaving a much larger area for your knees to go in as a passenger and not get submerged under the dashboard or something stupid. So not only did that intrude on cabin space, but it also didn't match the door panel over here. The door panel has this nice line, the trim blends right into the dashboard, but then the lower dash would stick way out and it did not leave, you know, it didn't work. So I took all the old parts out, bought this stuff from a guy named Alex on the M5 owners group. He's got more available. I think he's got some sand beige, maybe gray as well, but a lot of black ones. I think it was $425 for everything, and then I bought maybe $10 of fastening hardware to install it. Pretty easy DIY. We do have one on the channel from Nate in Orange County, California. He did a great DIY on it. I think the part numbers are actually there. If not, let me know and I'll do a video and include part numbers and that for you guys, but otherwise it should be fairly easy to find. And I'm really happy with that. Gives you a lot more legroom. I'm 6'3" or so. So over here as well, I got about an extra 2 inches of knee room there. I can even move my seat up a little bit, and that gives the rear passengers more room should you have some. And then a really cool part about this is the fact that we get a little storage pocket. So the lower dash on the driver's side before was completely backed in styrofoam. And you take that out and put it back in, as I had a couple times retrofitting PDC and other stuff in here, and it would always squeak and rattle, and you'd go over bumps and you'd hear all this styrofoam noise. No more is the styrofoam. With the European parts, it's just flush, and we get a little cubby right there, which is an awesome place to put your wallet, your phone, whatever you just bought at the store that you don't want flying around the cabin. It's a nice little recessed area. I can fit my entire fist in there and more. Great little storage pouch. And I did buy a new one. This one's a little worn. You won't see it on the camera. It's also not installed right. I've got a bigger gap at the bottom than the top. But with the car in the garage, I can't open the door all the way, so I'm not going to mess with that right now. Come spring, I will install the new pouch and clean that up, and that'll be better. But at the moment, Doesn't look perfect, but trust me, it will. And then down here, kind of a different bit of trim. Let's see if I can get my phone light on here. I'm sorry, it's so dark. The steering column changed. And then we get these two little slider pieces of, two little slider fasteners here that I was able to find online. And really the installation was not bad at all. Nate talks about it in his video, but the most difficult part was right here, and the OBD2 is still up here, by the way. You still have full function of the OBD2 port. But right back here, you had to cut a lot of sheet metal out that was covering a module. I'm not sure which module it was, EWS, something important, but it didn't need a sheet metal cover for it. So you have to get some wire or some sheet metal snips and pretty much cut all of that out. People say you only have to cut pieces, and they cut the whole damn thing out. And then this slides right in and fits really well. So really couldn't be happier with it. New glove box, switch the latch over, glove box fits, opens, closes really well, and super happy with that, the way it looks, and lots of room in there. So I would definitely recommend that. If you've got a full leather car, it's going to cost a fortune and be next to impossible to find the parts, so sorry. But for those of us happy with the vinyl dash that needs no maintenance, it's fairly inexpensive and easy to acquire such parts. So let's take a look under the hood. Really haven't done much under here actually. Since the 1,000-mile oil change after the rebuild. I did check a few days ago to make sure everything is dry, and it is. There's no leaks under the car. The belly pan's totally clean and dry. The coolant level looks good. This engine hasn't run or driven in quite a while, but hopefully it will here today. I did notice that my third brand new E46 M3 oil cap is seeping again. I don't know why these things suck and why they keep leaking, but they do. Such is life. I'll clean that up later. As I mentioned before, I did replace the hood strut, so the hood's nice and lightweight now and flies open when you give it a push. That was nice. I did this hardware up here. I'm pretty sure I filmed that in the last little update I did over the summer, but I love how clean everything looks, and the hood opens really easily. Been thinking about replacing the sound deadening material, I guess. This stuff gets old and crunchy, and then they never really seem to fit in the bottom well. You guys that have M5s probably have the same issue. You can keep pressing those tabs in all you want, but they won't stay in, and I'm not about to glue stuff to my hood, so just try not to let it bother me. Otherwise, little stupid stuff. I replaced the bushings on the power steering reservoir as well as the oil filter housing. For some reason, the oil filter housing bushings are really expensive, or at least they were, but all of those are new. One of them had broken off. I think one of these had broken off and it was really loose. So I did that, but otherwise this engine's been good. So I think I'm going to disconnect the battery and try giving it a start, or I'll disconnect the battery charger rather, and we'll fire it up. The cool thing about the C-TAC is there's no need to disconnect all the eyelets and such. We just need to access this area of the trunk, and then it's got a little connector right here. We squeeze the tab and it simply unplugs like that. I guess this will have to do. I'll open it that much so I won't asphyxiate myself in here, and then I'll back the car up a little bit and we'll shoot the exhaust outside. It's amazing how this car gets stiff after just a couple of months, like the doors didn't want to open and stuff like that. I am going to kind of cycle everything in here. I'll put the windows up and down and fold the mirrors in and just get some mechanical parts moving. These cars really don't like to sit, and I know that, and it hurts that I can't drive it, but I'm not about to go and incur another $1,000 worth of rust damage by driving it through another Ohio winter. Once I can get the right keys out of my pocket here, we'll see exactly how many miles I was able to get on this engine this past summer. It was rebuilt at exactly 192,000. I'm going to take a guess we're at about 194 and a half, just from memory. We're at 194,740. So I was able to get 2,740 miles in the 2016 calendar year, which is really quite pathetic. I used to drive this car like 15,000 miles a year, so now it sits too much of the time. And unlike the E46, the window regulators actually don't mind working after it's sat for a little while. E46s don't like that. Sunroof's a little slow, but it works. Alright, I had to check the exhaust. I didn't remember if I put anything in there this year to keep rodents out, and I didn't. So we'll throw the key to position 2. I did get the tank full. I know it sat a month about empty, but then I was able to get it full for storage. And now we'll listen. I love the way the Eisenman sounds when it's cold. It's almost like borderline Dynon, super boomy, meaty as hell. First couple seconds there, I don't know if you were able to tell on camera, but we had some lifter tick up here. pretty normal when these things sit, even when they don't. It's just a normal sound that the S62 makes. It's not really a pretty sounding engine at idle. And as it lowers and idle, I'm sure we'll be able to hear, yeah, we can hear some fuel injectors as well as the typical Vanos clatter. I did have Dr. Vanos redo both Vanos sides. They did the splines as well. Huge difference from before on my 2000 motor, but still audible that it's a Vanos engine. But if you ever listen to an S85 or an S65, the E60 M5 and E9 XM3 engines, they sound about the same. Let it run and get a little warm here, but I'm gonna need some new rear tires. Coming up this spring and summer, we're pretty much at the wear bars. I did clean them up so they look like slicks, but I promise you they're not that bad. They're safe to drive, although I certainly wouldn't drive them in any moisture. I wouldn't drive the car in any moisture, but the tires wouldn't help. The fronts are great. The fronts have probably 80 or 90% tread. The rears just don't last. You add a limited slip differential and 400-ish horsepower back here, and they don't last real long. Which brings up the point, Michelin has discontinued the Pilot Super Sport in favor of, I believe, the Pilot 4S or something like that. They're not yet available in 18-inch wheel sizes. These are stock wheels on this car, measuring 275/35, ZR18 in the rear. So I may end up with another set of Pilot Super Sports, which would be fine. I absolutely love that tire, and then it would match my fronts. But eventually, I'm sure this car will get whatever the new Pilot 4S tires are. That'll be an expensive upgrade someday when they do the 18s. You got the Vanos noise now a little bit. You close the hood though, and it does disappear. The coolant level raised up. Coolant level went up a little bit there as it starts ingesting. But if we shut that, it's like silent. You don't really hear any of the Vanos noise, so I guess my So I guess the sound deadening thing is still kind of doing its job. But anyways, I'm going to back it up. Maybe we'll give it a few revs, get it warm, try to get the oil warm. It's not really easy on these things to start and not drive either, but probably better than just sitting here off for 6 months. Also give the lights a cycle. For a little while I was getting a check high beam warning, and I don't know why, because both high beams work absolutely fine. Maybe one of the filaments in the bulbs is getting loose or something like that. These do take a little while to warm up. It is 45 though, that's certainly better than 35. And that's what happens when the moisture comes in. The entire car condenses, and it'll actually start dripping. And that's why cars rust here. You just can't be outside here for 8 or so months a year. Everything is wet. The hood's dry, but back here, I mean, the window's totally fogged up. Look at that. I almost forgot to mention really the one issue this car has right now, and it's this stupid mud flap back here. So the M5 gets these little dinky mud flap things that I don't really think do much, but they're supposed to be there. And I noticed some noise when I was driving the car a couple months ago. It sounded like something was grinding. I was thinking the parking brake was sticking, but thankfully no, since I've completely rebuilt that. It's this stupid mud flap. So one of the connectors pulled out here, and then it got pushed back into the tire, and you can see the tire has worn a nice little chunk of the corner right off of it. So I've got 2 new ones and some fastening hardware. However, all 4 rocker points on this car have been rebuilt due to rust issues in the past. So the fastening hardware that's supposed to go in there don't really fit. So I'm going to have to get very creative with what fastening hardware I use. It's only held on by 1 clip right now, and you can see that what I have in there, I think, is actually a Honda fastening rivet. It's one of those ones that screws instead of pushes into the little acceptor. So I'll get the new ones on here in the spring when I can get the car out, moved further away from the wall. And I will get that fixed, but if you guys know of any generic fastening hardware that would just go into a larger hole, that's what I'm going to have to do with that. And we're back to the Charger. I'd probably let it run 15 minutes, so I don't think the oil got all the way warm, but coolant was up around 80 Celsius per test 7. So hopefully it dries out now. I'll probably try to give it another Z6 to clean all this crap off of it now that it's condensed. I don't think even covering it would help. Last year under the cover, I remember finding drips that were dripping from like the rockers down here. Just this environment is not suited for any physical item that you care about in the least. I don't know why people live here, but that's why I'm moving. So thank you for watching this update. I'm going to do one on the 330 as well. Here in the upcoming days. I've done more work with that car. That car's been a much bigger headache than this car has, but here in the next, month or two, I should be able to get this thing out and actually drive it, and I've got to go and get the Ohio E-Check and renew plates and stuff like that. So thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you in a future E39 Source video. Take care.